Good morning. I'm Robert Dean Steele, and this is your daily Bible class or the commentary on the Bible. Now, we're going to find ourselves in a bigger section today because Jesus is looking at the proper view of money. And now he says simply this, and last time we were together, the Lord basically said, where your treasures are, there is your heart as well. Now we're starting at verse number 22. It says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body is full of light. But if your eye is dark, your whole body is full of darkness. Therefore, the light that is in you is darkness. How great is the darkness? So basically, Jesus says this. The eyes are the portal into the soul. And he says, if your heart is wrong, that is what's going to come out. But if your heart is right, then what's going to happen is those good deeds are going to come out. Now, we need to understand that we, without the Lord, are basically following our own basic instincts. We have made our own standards, our own set of morals. And it's based upon subjectiveness. It's based upon what we believe is important. And it's amazing to me in different communities and in different social extractions how the morals can very much differ. For example, if you find yourself in a prison, you'll have a prisoner who says, there's no problem at all killing somebody, but don't you ever welch on a bench. Or it's, and so there's different morality. Well, that's why we need the Bible. The Bible gives us an objective truth. It gives us a standard for morality. So that's what Jesus was talking about. He says, if your eyes are what comes out in your life, what shines out in your life is what in your heart. Now listen to what he says in verse number 24. He says, no one can serve two masters, for either will hate one and love the other, or else he'll be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. So when Jesus was talking about treasure, he says, where your heart is, that is where your treasure is. And where your treasure is, that is where your heart is. But he says there's this dilemma that is going on inside so many people because they're trying to serve two masters. They're trying to serve themselves, but they're also trying to serve God. Or they're trying to serve money, and they're trying to find that balance between them and social life. And it's a real difficult situation. Those who become the upper echelon of management of major companies have sacrificed everything so that they can become that person of importance. And there are many men who are sacrificing their families, they're sacrificing their spouses, and it's now coming to the same way with women, where they're sacrificing their spouses and their family for the pursuit of career. And it's a real dilemma, and it's a real problem. And Jesus basically says, he says you can't serve both. You can't serve God and mammon. Basically, you got to lay aside the mammon, you got to lay aside your desires and follow God. Now, listen to what he says in verse number 24. He says, therefore, don't worry about your life, what you're going to eat or drink, neither about your body or what you put on. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? He says, why are you worried about all these things? We do that. We have a tendency to worry about tomorrow. We have a tendency to worry about paying the bills. Now, I'm not against all of that. We need to do that, but not worry, but we need to be concerned about that. What we need to do, though, is what Jesus talks about this. Look at the birds of the air, and for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, but your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not more valuable than them? Or he says, and which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit or 18 inches to your height or stature? And why are you worried about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field and how they grow, and neither toil nor spin. And yet he says Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. So he says, why are you worried about food, about clothing, about housing, or transportation? Those are the 4 essentials, it seems, today. He says, the Father in heaven, he basically clothes the flowers in the field, and they are more beautiful than Solomon in all his glory. And if the Lord can take care of the birds of the air, can't he take care of you? He goes on to say this. We get all concerned about it. He says, can you even add an 18 inches or a cubit to your height? No, you cannot do that. So he goes on to say, he says, now if God can clothe the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown in the oven, how much more can he take care of you? Then he says, O ye of little faith, therefore do not worry what you shall eat or what you shall drink or what we shall wear. He says, after all these things the Gentiles seek, but your heavenly Father knows you know and need all these things. He says those who are not of God are going to seek after these things. But he says, as a covenant people, you have the assurance that God is going to supply every one of your needs. And it's so important that we realize that God is going to do that. He used the example today of the birds of the field and the flowers the birds in the air and the flowers in the field. He says, if God can take care of that, he's going to take care of you. Stop walking in little bits of faith. He says, in fact, he used the word, O ye of little faith. You see, when we forget that God can take care of us, that God can sustain us, then we walk in doubt, we walk in fear, we walk in discouragement. But when we put our trust in God and say, Lord, I know that you can supply every need. I know that, Lord, you are going to meet my need today. You've taken care of me yesterday, you'll take care of me today, and you'll take care of me tomorrow. Well, Jesus was just trying to put everything into perspective. We get so concerned about moment by moment, day by day, need by need. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned, but we should turn these things over to God. There have been many, many times that things have happened to me that I get all bent out of shape for, and then I take a moment and I pray. And as soon as I pray, the peace of God comes in, and God is able to release his blessings upon my life. There have been many times in my life that God has already supplied. There have been times where I'll get a large amount of money, and I'm thinking, why am I getting this large amount of money? Then shortly after, something happens, and the resources are already there to take care of the need. God is going to supply his wonderful divine benefits into your life when you put your trust in him. So do that today and follow Jesus' simple advice. Remember, you cannot serve God and mammon, but you can serve God and trust him for his wonderful provision. My name is Robert Dean Steele. This is your daily Bible class or your commentary on the Bible. Have yourself a great and godly day.